My name is Desmond Kaiser, and I was named after Desmond Tutu. This project is the story of my discovery of what it means to be named after such an amazing leader with such a strong legacy. Desmond Tutu was born on October 7th, 1931 in Klerksdorp, South Africa. He grew up in a time of apartheid. Apartheid was a time where the whites had control over the government and treated the blacks horribly. He knew that he was treated poorly just because of the color of his skin. However, he still managed to have a happy childhood. His high school was Johannesburg Bantu High School, a horribly unfunded, only black school. Nevertheless, he still received an excellent education. In 1950, he graduated from high school and was accepted into medical school, but his family couldn't afford such expensive education. Therefore, he accepted a scholarship at Pretoria Bantu Normal College and graduated in 1953 with a teacher's certificate. He continued to receive a bachelor's degree from the University of South Africa in 1954. He then returned to his high school to teach English and history. In 1948, the National Party gained control of the government and increased segregation and racism. 15 years later, the government passed the Bantu Education Act, the law that took away funding for blacks to receive any education beyond what was needed to become a servant. After this, the government spent 1/10 as much money on the education of a black student than that of a white student. Many of Tutu's classes had as many as 80 students, so in 1957, Tutu had had enough of it. He quit teaching altogether. The next year, he enrolled in St. Peter's Theological College. After 4 years, he left South Africa to pursue further theological studies. He then received his master's in theology from King's College in 1956. Soon after, he moved to the University of Roma in Lesotho to give lectures about theology. After 2 years, he moved back to England to accept his appointment as the Associate Director of the Theological Education Fund of the World Council of Churches in Kent. After that, he went on to study theology in Oxfordshire and then continued to study theology in London. After receiving this education, he went on to give theological lectures. In 1976, he wrote a letter to the Prime Minister of South Africa, warning him that if he didn't address racial inequality, there would be consequences. In 1986, he was appointed as the Archbishop of Cape Town and became the first black to receive the highest position in the South African Anglican Church. In 1984, he received the Nobel Peace Prize. He received this award in honor of his never-ending battle against the South African apartheid. I believe that he really deserved this award, and I think it is amazing how much emphasis he pushed forward with no violence and nothing but his words. In no small part due to Desmond Tutu in 1993, the South African apartheid ended. Then South Africa elected its first black president, Nelson Mandela. Mandela appointed Desmond Tutu to lead the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission was where most of the South Africans wanted to unfairly punish all the white people for treating them poorly. But then Desmond Tutu said that they should give the white people fair trial or else they would be just as bad as the whites. This act was amazing because it seems that no one could forgive someone who did things that horrible, but Desmond Tutu did it, and he held firm ground against the people who thought that the whites didn't deserve to be forgiven because they were unforgivable. But Desmond Tutu forgave the unforgivable. One of the things he said about this was, to forgive is not just to be altruistic, it is the best form of self-interest. Why did you name me Desmond?
Our country was about to go to war, and it really made me sad, and I felt as if we needed peace and love, and so I started looking for ways to name you after peace and love, and it came down to looking at Nobel Peace Prize winners, and we chose between Jimmy Carter and Desmond Tutu. And so we were going to name you either Carter or Desmond. And we decided to wait until you were born to see which matched better.
How did you learn about Desmond Tutu?
To people of my generation, Desmond Tutu is a very famous person. I remember watching the news come from South Africa during apartheid and the end of apartheid and during the reconciliation process. And Desmond Tutu was one of the most famous people during that time.
What do you think his legacy was?
I think Desmond Tutu's legacy is peace and the power of forgiveness and the ability of human beings to heal age-old conflicts.
Why do you think Desmond Tutu received his Nobel Peace Prize?
I think he exemplified the values of the Nobel Peace Prize and looking for peaceful solutions under terrible circumstance like apartheid.
Are you so blind that you cannot see? Are you so deaf that you cannot hear him? Are you so dumb that you cannot speak? I say, free Nelson Mandela. Oh, I'm begging you, free Nelson Mandela. Free begging you, please. Nelson Mandela. You got to free, you got to free, you got to free, yeah. Oh, I'm begging you. Free Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela. You got to free, you got to free, yeah. Nelson Mandela, I'm begging you. You got to free, you got to free. Nelson